In 20 seconds or less.
I'm Italian. I can't do anything in 20 seconds. I just like to talk, you know.
What critical piece of advice would you give to a new business owner?
Hire local, we lend local, we invest local, we give local, and mutual savings banks have that great opportunity to do that. I get the word love, and it's so weird that you would not think you're finding, you love your pet, you love your spouse, you love your family, you love going to Ireland. I love the bank. I love the people. I love what you do.
So with the saying, when Derrik talks, people listen.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I hope
Scott was going to ask you about, how you see the future, like what's.
I live and work here. Like I said, my family's been here. My children, now that are adult children, are here, and so it's just where I need to be doing this. I don't know. I think I could do it, probably anywhere else.
But I do love that the tools that you're putting in place are really to free up your folks to be able to have conversations, kind of continue that relationship,
and it's
then meet the new customers where they want to be.
Exactly. And
So welcome to Cornwall Conversations. I'm Scott Teresi, the host of the podcast, and I'm here with my co-host, Silvio Perez. Silvio, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Silvio Perez. I'm the commercial director for KW Commercial in Chester, New York.
Mm-hmm. And joining us today is Derrik Wynkoop from Walden Savings Bank, President and CEO. Welcome.
Yes, hello, gentlemen.
Welcome.
Yes, great to be here.
Well, we're really pleased to have you, and I should say we're joining you because here we are on location in the Cornwall branch of Walden Savings Bank. So thank you for hosting us.
Yes, we're thrilled to have you, and it's our third location in our 12-location franchise, and it's one of our favorites. Got a really quaint look, so we're happy to host you today.
It's wonderful to be here, and literally we are in the only bank in town of Cornwall.
With an enviable position.
Yes, it is. It is. Competition is generally good for the economy. Sad to see the other two go, but it's absolutely an opportunity for this branch and this team here to excel. So we're excited with the opportunity.
Well, you've been with the bank for over 14 years.
Yes.
I saw. And before that, you've been CEO for 14 years, but you've been with the bank, is that right? For over 20?
Right out of college, I was here for 2 years, and then I went to two other banks, including Hudson Valley Credit Union before I joined here. And then like you said, I joined about 14 and a half years ago in September of 2011, and no looking back. So all three banks combined about 36, 37 years doing this.
And all with local banks, community type banks.
Yes.
And what is that affinity to the community banks?
Well, I'm born and raised in this area, so the Wynkoops settled in Kingston area in 1660. So I'm actually the 13th generation. My sons are the 14th, and my daughter. So we have this local connection to the Hudson Valley. So after going to Marist College and studying there was no other place to do what I'm doing as a banker, but in the community where I was born and raised. And so certainly just, kind of staying within Orange, Dutchess, Ulster, that kind of triangle, if you will, has always been something that it has been natural for me. I know the people. I live and work here. Like I said, my family's been here. My children, now that are adult children, are here, and so it's just where I need to be doing this. I don't know. I think I could do it, probably anywhere else. So.
And a lot of people don't really understand the difference between a large national chain bank and a community bank, and the benefits of a community bank. Can you talk a little bit about what does it mean to be a community bank?
To contrast them a little bit, everything we do stays local. When we have a good year, we give back to the community, we lend local. So we live and work in the local community. Money center banks are certainly very important to the ecosystem here in our country. And there's Chases that have branches throughout all 50 states here, and probably international. But we have a very defined market, and it's really the kind of this Hudson Valley that I just spoke about. Walden is also what is known as a mutual savings bank. So the word mutual means we're mutually owned by our depositors. So we're not a stock bank. So some of those large money center banks also have stock, and they're really focused, once you go down that road, is to maximize shareholder price. You have one and only one thing you want to do is get your shareholders a good return and a dividend and appreciation. I don't have those concerns. I have to make a profit. I have to, our regulators require that, but it really is this mutual concept. We are owned by our depositors. So if for some reason Walden never existed, the capital position we've amassed would be returned to all of our depositors. And there's about 400 mutuals left in this country, mainly in this North Atlantic area of the state. And it's really just a fantastic way to do banking, because again, everything stays local. We hire local, we lend local, we invest local, we give local, and mutual savings banks have that great opportunity to do that.
Yeah. Well, and
I was just going to say, I think that's a point that doesn't often get, I don't want to say it doesn't get shared, but maybe for the average consumer, they're not really thinking about the difference between a big national bank and a local bank. And my own observation is that, a local bank really knows their customers. And there's a difference in, getting a loan from a local bank. They really understand the situation. They can really work through granular pieces of what a client needs that might not fit through the normal kind of underwriting or process that big bank may go through.
Right.
You guys can break that down a lot more, custom in a more customized way, because you really know the market and you really know the people.
Yes, very well said, Silvio. And really, I talk about lending and with character, credit, and collateral, and go to that first one of character. You're kind of, yes, there's a package we'll get when we're underwriting a loan that you might send me, but it's really the character of the individuals, the owners, looking behind the numbers, really at loan committee saying, how can we make this work, versus, it doesn't fit into the cookie cutter that we're looking for. And so that's what drew me to community banking my whole life, is because we can look behind the numbers and we can look at the character of the individual and the character of the business, and we can be there for them on their journey as they have success. And community banking allows that, which, I don't know if some of the larger money center banks, have that ability to really look and peel, away the various layers to really make a deal work. So it's really a wonderful thing we do here at Walden.
It really is. I mean, I can tell you firsthand experience, the difference between, working with a big bank and it not kind of fitting in their cookie cutter format.
Yes.
And then working with a local bank, and it made all the difference in the world.
No, that's great. And even our tagline, your bank, our community, it's your bank because it's mutually owned by you. It's not mine. I am the proud leader of this organization with an amazing board and staff, but it is your bank, our community. And so it is just a model that has been served very well for Walden. Now, when we hit the calendar in January, it'll be 154 years.
Oh, wow.
Another fun fact, we're the 10th oldest mutual. So as I said, there's about 400, but we're ranked number 10 as far as our establishment date, which was in 1872. So it's not by accident we're still here, because we stuck to our knitting, we know what we're doing, and we've had a lot of success doing it. So
yeah, I think not only the benefit that you bring as understanding the local market and local trends and things like that, but also I think the engagement that the bank has with other organizations around the community, and the opportunity for you all to partner with those organizations and actually giving back to the community is another benefit I think that small community banks do. Can you talk a little bit about maybe some of your favorite initiatives that you guys are working on?
I could talk about it forever. It's what drew me here when I was recruited and then applied. I was like, Walden's everywhere. There's this small but mighty community bank, and so giving back to the community is super important. Locally here, and since this is Cornwall, some initiatives we've done. Lately, we were the first to sign on to the Veterans Banner Project. Regina got me involved from McCade, and she has all the banners. We did the sculpture project with Vivian Collins from the Storm King, arts facility there. We love to work and play again in the community, and being a part of the chamber. I think we're one of your largest supporters, because again, if I'm asking you to come to Walden to do your banking, we need to also support you in the chamber, because it is a full circle moment. So and again, that is replicated within our other 11 offices. Each of our branch managers, business development team, they have equal groups. I could give a list if I was telling you what we're doing in Pine Bush or Beacon or Washingtonville. We were at the Christmas light parade on Saturday. So there's this kind of commitment for the bank not to just write a check. That's easy, right? We have profits, I can write a check. But as I like to say, Walden always shows up. We show up at the event. So if you need, at the Cornwall Harvest Fest, we will be there at the booth greeting our customers. So we show up, but we also are able to balance that with writing a check, and that financial support, and also the volunteers that are able to be a part of any community event are what's critical to our success. And when new people come, I meet them week one of their orientations, like, what drew you to Walden? I would say 9 out of 10 say the community positioning of being there for the local organizations within our branch market.
Yeah. And at a time when business is so big and impersonal, it's special to be able to connect with people in your own town or your own community or region, and deal with people where it's worth a little bit more than just the deal at hand or a profit.
Yeah, valuing those relationships, and it's something that I'm lucky enough to be here 15 of the 154 years, but it's in the mantra of the leaders that established this bank, and it's carried right through to today. So super fortunate to lead this organization for sure.
You talked about showing up, and the fact that you guys are showing up. Here we are in this local branch, and more the trend is online banking. Things like that. Why is it important to have a footprint, to have a branch location, branch locations?
Great question, and I think COVID really changed a lot of the behaviors, because you were forced to do everything digitally. Even my 91-year-old mom, I think she was 86 at the time, eventually signed on for online banking and the digital services. So it's important to have those, but I like to say Walden has also high touch, where you can touch and feel and talk to a person, but high tech. In this day and age, you need to have both. You have to have the technology, but you also have to have the people piece, and that marriage is so critical. And in fact, generations below us, my children, they largely use it 95% digitally, and talk to a human. What are you talking about? You don't want to be able to do everything on the mobile app, or but I think it's important that when there's an issue, if you have a fraud on your account, if you want to talk to somebody because the loan application seems a bit too difficult, we have people that can sit down and help you. So depending on what continuum you are on, if you need the technology, it's there. If you want us to do it the old-fashioned way and just come into a branch and open an account and sit with Diane here or John, we have that too. And so we do almost have to be one size fits all, but the high tech touch and the high tech is super important to Walden's success, and is what's drawn, I think, over 31,000 customers, and 4,000 of them are business customers like that you lead at the chamber. So
I'll tell you, and that's incredible, because when people have issues and you can't get through to a person, and how many experiences have we had with other transactions or other times in our own personal lives or business lives where we haven't been able to get a hold of somebody when there's a problem. It's been a big, it's really frustrating.
It is important, and I won't give it out today, but I would tell you, and not exaggerating, probably 1,000 customers have my personal cell phone. That is to the level that we do. Our commercial lenders, there's 5 of them. There's a business development officer, our branch managers. It's that, and it may sound kind of cliche, but they can access us because, to your point, Silvio, if there is a fraud on your account, or you had some financial issue, or a death, or there's an estate question you may have, you want to be able to have access to people, and that is the difference at Walden, is again that high touch, the people piece, and I'm happy to pick up the phone and help them, because financial matters can be a huge stressor. When they go well, it's wonderful. When they don't, and so you have a person that you can speak to on the other end of the phone.
We've been talking about people a lot in those experiences. Like, what kind of feedback do you get from your customers? I mean, what kinds of...
I get the word love, and it's so weird that you would not think you're finding, you love your pet, you love your spouse, you love your family, you love going to Ireland. I love the bank. I love the people. I love what you do. And that is an emotion that, you can't pick up in a net promoter score or customer survey. We ask, and we're always looking for feedback. We did a shredder day here, I think about 2 months ago. I've made, I think, all but one, and I'm unloading the boxes, and the people are unrolling their windows. And again, it is just something that is not really something I was expecting. When my other institutions were fine, but people really love what we do here. They're invested in the bank. They see we work really hard at the success we've achieved. And so that is and the other thing is, I'm not going to make this all Pollyanna that we're perfect. When we're not loved, we work really hard. I should have broader shoulders, but I want to use that as a learning moment for those times when there is a customer issue. What could we have done? I call them, I have phrases for everything, a postmortem. Do a postmortem after an event, and this all worked but for this. So how can we make this better next time? And I think any really successful business will be also super honest when things aren't going well. So you tweak, you adjust, and you move forward. So, but again, love would be a word that, again, you wouldn't really expect with a financial institution, but here at Walden, our customers are super pleased with us.
Amazing.
Yeah. So as the chamber and representative of businesses in the community in and around Cornwall, what recommendation would you give to a business? What's one thing that they should be doing or thinking about before they go in to try and get financing or get a loan or something like that?
Well, I mean, depending on the degree of the size of your business, there's some one-shop places, mom and pops, right up to larger clients. We have, and these are on our website, so I'm not disclosing confidential. We have Mickey Biggs and Quality and Naniti and Callahan, right down to the small, two Alice's right next door. Right. So depending on where you are in the journey of your life, I say the 3 legs of the stool that you should have for your success is a really good bank, that has some of the traits that I just described, and a good accountant, because there's going to be, how to establish what is the right form of business, doing your tax returns and understanding depreciation, what's deductible, and a good attorney. You may not always need that attorney. Certainly when you incorporate, you will. And maybe as you're expanding, thinking about bringing on a partner or so on and so forth. But those 3 are super critical to having your kind of financial house in order as a small business. Then you sprinkle in, a realtor if you're looking for a piece of property. You sprinkle in the chamber, perhaps at times building a website or marketing. You won't always need those things, but those are some others, beyond those core 3. but a bank, an attorney, an accountant. When we're reviewing a loan, the first, after the name, address, and what the business does, we look for who are those parties that are on the journey with you that will help advise you and give you the necessary advice on the whole life cycle of your business. And I'll often, just suggest that and again, to the degree of which you use some of these other partners, but I think I look back at my most successful businesses and they've had some really solid relationships, with those entities, if you will. So,
would you share a little bit about the kinds of loans that
Sure.
you typically like to make, or within your?
Yeah, same kind of thing, and depending where you are, we could do a 20,000 line of credit, just so you have a line of credit for the seasonality of your businesses. You need to buy some inventory, but you expect to sell it. We, even, an overdraft checking, if you have an incidental overdraft, it's nice to not have to get that call from our branch manager that you've bounced, so some just get as small as a 5,000. And then we'll go all the way up as a $1 billion institution. Our legal lending limit, that's a mouthful, is 16 million based upon our capital. So there are a few that are approaching that level that we've banked for many, many years that are super comfortable with their relationship. Those individuals might be what we call CRE loans, commercial real estate, or C&I, which is commercial and industrial. Banking has a lot of acronyms. So CRE or C&I. CRE we love because we've got actual real estate or collateral. C&I we may not have, but we have the UCCs of the assets. We have the guarantees of the principals. We'll do CapEx lines. Somebody that regularly needs to buy a dump truck every 6 months, and they get approved for this bucket of money. And as they get an invoice for a new dump truck, we give them their money. So depending on where you are, some is just as simple as I need a $25,000 credit card, and again, Walden has credit cards. So our branch managers and our commercial team is they know to sit down, uncover your needs. We don't, just spit back everything. We first ask you, well, how is your business working now? What do you need? If you banked with somebody before, what did you like about them? What you didn't like about them? And then we will tailor a solution, a loan to your specific needs.
Wow.
What would you say is the biggest misconception about business lending?
Well, I think some people feel it's really hard, it's very complex, 2 years worth of tax returns, and we need your PFS, and we need to know everything about. So we can, based upon certain credit scores, sometimes we can credit score a loan based upon the strength of the principals, how long you've been in there. So I think don't be scared with the paperwork burden that is required. And the beautiful thing, back to that high touch, each market has defined business development officers assigned to it. In addition, we have one general business development officer, John Coughlin, who works on both the deposit and loan side. But then each market, here for example, in Cornwall, we have Michael Weimer. He will sit down with you and help you navigate. And then the other misconception is it takes too long, or you're going to make this a science project, and there's going to be so much. And the one beautiful thing about a community bank, our approval process is pretty quick. When we get a complete packet, the old school banking 20 years ago, there was loan committee only on the second Tuesday once a month, and if you didn't get the package in, you had to wait till the next month. We are able, when we have a package done, the leader of this department, Brian Ratinsky, has put in a process where we will docu-sign it to our board if we need board approval, and they will get an email from me and a text saying, you have something to view. So those days of sitting around the table and approving or denying a loan, that's done. Occasionally we'll have to do that if it's a complex deal. We'll hop on a call, but the approval process sometimes scares businesses because, they're never going to approve me, or it's going to take forever to get an answer. We have streamlined the approval process, that it's local decisioning and the speed. And even when we've had to deny, we always deliver our denials with, this is what you will need to do to get it over the finish line the next time. It is horrible to get that no, and occasionally when you get the no, I want to say, well, hey, if you can get a cosigner that strengthens it, or maybe I just need 6 more months to show that your income and your QuickBooks revenue is showing, and so they love that communication back and forth. That hopefully I only make money when I put the loan on the books. For the occasional ones when I have to deny them, I want my loan officers to come back and tell them, this is what we have to do to have a better probability of success the next time.
Right.
And I think sometimes telling them no because they're not quite ready, take a little bit more time. That's an important thing, that there's that education piece that I don't think you're gonna get with some of these fintech chatbots that are just using algorithms to approve. We're real live human beings. Actually, the board or myself, I have a lending authority, say up to $1 million. I can sign off. I know the characteristics that our risk profile is looking for. So those are things that an algorithm or a chatbot can't quite do.
I mean, where do you get that kind of dialogue? You get an email from, huge national bank and you don't know what to do, right?
Yeah. So we'd like to give them a roadmap, and we're that three-legged stool. We're we're the bank leg of that stool. We are there for the dialogue, the good times, the bad times, the times that you're going through a change. Certainly 3, 4, 5 years ago, 3 different batches of COVID. What we had to do for those businesses to help them, assist them. Of course, there was the payroll protection program that the government helped, but you can't be in and out with the business. You have to be there consistent and have the same kind of mantra on how you approach lending. And that consistency, again, as I said a few minutes ago, it's not by accident Walden is still around 154 years later, because we've stuck to our knitting and our philosophy in helping businesses and also consumers.
What do you think are some of the best practices you would share that a potential client would come in looking for a loan? What are some of the best practices you think help either enable or improve their chances of a
That's a great question. There's certainly the financial piece, because it starts and ends with the financials. Do you have the ability? It's, what is the repayment source on this loan? Is it a rent roll deal that I'm financing a strip mall? Well, then it's the leases of that rent roll. Or if you're, opening an Italian restaurant, have you ever done this before? Or is this just a dream? And so understanding the principles of the deal, meaning the who the owners are, what their background is. I like to see them be able to articulate a business plan and strategy. Sometimes if it's a startup, I'll ask to see the document, because otherwise it's kind of vaporware and you have a dollar and a dream and you think this loan's going to be successful, but have you ever done this before? So the exercise of creating a business plan. Who's your market? Who's your competitors? What is the price of your product going to be? What is the location? I think the exercise of doing that business plan is super important. Again, maybe not for a small, you need $10,000 and you're, a chiropractor. You may not, to the degree you need all these things, but as we get more sophisticated and the loan requests get larger, I like to see that. Now, again, if you're an established business and we're fortunate enough to just land you because you've been tired of that big money center bank and you finally landed at Walden, then you have a track record, you have a credit score, you have a Dun & Bradstreet, you have tax returns. So it's the mixture of strong financials, a vision, but a vision backed by strategy as well. Because there's some stat, and I'm not, but it's over 50% of new businesses fail because they failed on one of those. I've never done this before. I didn't align myself with the accountant, the attorney, the banker. I didn't have, rainy day funds or liquidity in case, oops, this doesn't work out. What are your liquid reserves? That's one of the things in the CAD, which is called the credit approval document, that I look for. What is the fallback system if there's another COVID, if there's some difficulty, if one of the owners happen to pass away, become disabled? So you look for those other assurances that will make a loan deal super strong. And again, it can't just be an idea. It has to be backed with some, document, strategic plan, financials, and again, that package is part of what goes on that CAD credit approval document and is brought forward to loan committee to make a decision. Because ultimately, I am a regulated institution. I'm in the Office of Comptroller Currency, OCC. We're part of the Department of Treasury. So I don't like to overly state this, but I have regulators. We just finished our safety and soundness exam last Thursday, and we got flying colors, but they pull apart our loan documents. You know, there were 40 years ago, before the S&L crisis, something like 18,000 branches, banks and branches. There's 5,000 now. What happened to those 13,000? They probably put loans on the books and it hit their capital position and they were forced to merge, sell, or what have you. So part of why I need this strong loan package, the strategic plan, the strong financials is ultimately, it's not my money I'm lending, it's yours. If you're a depositor here, I am lending your money. We take in deposits and we lend them out. So I'm making an underwriting and credit decision that I think is best in the best interest of the bank and my depositors, because my depositors, when their CD comes due, they want their money back, right? And I need to be paid on my loan too. So as much as I love the model, there is a business component to me from my perspective that I've got to manage the risk profile of the bank.
You talked about that. You said greater than 50% of new businesses fail. From your perspective, like, what is it that organizations like your organization and our organization, the Chamber, can be doing to increase that success rate?
Yeah, I think it's just something like this. Listen to this podcast, literacy. I know you have speakers that come to your chamber, because there's not one of the 50 or 60 that fails. It wasn't that they didn't have passion, but maybe they just hadn't lined up all the right players for their success. So understanding, you know, the literacy around a business loan, if this is a consumer, understanding financial literacy, budgeting, you know, not getting ahead of your skis. And I think a lot of times, if I look, they want to grow too quickly. I call it smart growth. Even my bank, investment bankers come all the time. They love Walden. They say, Derrik, you should go public one day. You should do this. And knowing who you are and knowing who you're not, and also not growing too quickly, growing within the confines of the operating environment that you're in. And so really giving that business customer the guardrails that they need to have success. And I think a lot of what you do at the Chamber is education, right? There's a social component, there's a mixer, I know you have one coming, but there's also like, I'm, you know, giving you people and resources that can help you make these decisions.
So good for a soundbite. So for a quick, in 20 seconds or less.
I'm Italian. I can't do anything in 20 seconds. I just like to talk. You know.
What critical piece of advice would you give to a new business owner?
Yeah,
the most critical piece.
I just align yourself with the best of the best in those channels, whether it be the chamber in your market, the marketing firm, the bank. Is you have to pick your strategic partners so carefully, because if you don't have them, or the bank's going to put you in something that you're not ready for, you will not have the success. So it's the collaboration. Who you collaborate with matters.
Great.
That goes along with the saying, right? Who you surround yourself with.
Right.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So with that, talk a little bit about some of the collaborations that you have with other organizations.
Well,
some of the ones that you're excited about.
Yeah. I mean, certainly, there's not a not-for-profit in this market. You know, on the not-for-profit front, we collaborate with, St. Luke's Montefiore, Cornwall. I'm going to be joining their board. Storm King, Museum of Hudson Highlands. So certainly there's that collaboration. We also belong to every market. It belongs to the local chapter. We also belong to the Orange County Chamber. We also are in Beacon, so we own Dutchess Chamber, and Ulster. We have a branch in Gardner. So it's not one size fits all, and different markets need different things. I mean, we have the one office in Beacon, and I say the Hudson River is the Great Divide. You would think it would be, I asked people to come across the river to Middle Hope. Oh my goodness. So we opened a loan production office in Beacon because people wanted to see we were local. We weren't carpetbaggers that just put up a storefront. So we started to integrate in the community. So all of these groups are super important. We're also part of the New York Bankers Association, which is in New York City, but it represents 140 banks, most of which are other small community banks. So really I'm taking my own advice that I told the business, surrounding myself with really good not-for-profits, chambers, people that are phone a friend on the other end of the phone that I can reach out to as a resource for me to make sure the bank's positioned for their success. So,
is there one particular initiative or project or that you're working on that you're really passionate about, that really just is a personal passion project for you?
Yeah, I mean, everything is, I guess somewhat of the digital transformation. We recently, each bank has a core system that runs when you come in, you see a computer. So we have a really good core, and so we're working on those digital solutions that others, and docu-signing and electronic closing. So really kind of going to more streamlined processes. And even though we still have if you want to do the old-fashioned closings, you can do that. We have it, just kind of some mechanical, like behind the curtains. We have recyclers, which makes counting your teller drawer more efficient, so we can engage in conversations versus worrying about the business that comes in or the church collection that they bring in on Monday morning. You can have a conversation because the recycler does a lot of that. So a lot of these technology initiatives that's going to make us more efficient, but also still allow us to have more conversation because we can focus on the person who's across from us versus having to count the drawer and do things like that. Our headquarters branch, we just about 2.5 years ago digitally transformed it into a self-service branch, which has some kiosks where if your debit card has to be repinned or you want to check out something, you can go right to the kiosk and do that. But again, there's still the platform desks of people that you can talk of, like Diane here or Alicia in Scott's Corner. So really working on that kind of mix between the technology, because I do realize as a 154-year brand, we do have also new customers that might say, well, is this my grandparents' bank, right? So, we all have, kids, and, some of us might have grandkids that are going to need different things from the bank. So as much as I like to stick to my knitting, I do realize I also have to transform and change. So a lot of things are coming down in the technology initiative to try to balance that need of the alphas and the Zs that are our future customer base. If I only focus on my 91-year-old who's a silent majority or baby boomers, when that generation passes on, they may not see Walden as relevant in a player. So we still have to have those technology initiatives that attract the next generation of customers.
Yeah. But I do love that the tools that you're putting in place are really to free up your folks to be able to have conversations, kind of continue that relationship.
And it's
then
not,
meet the new customers where they want to be.
Exactly. And it allows our branch managers to not have to necessarily be strapped to the desk. They can go on business calls too, because we have technology that can do some of the paperwork burden of opening the account, which can take an hour. So by embracing technology, some AI related, we're launching in about a month. Wally is our mascot, Wally St. Banks, WSB. It's an owl. So we on our website will have this chat bot, because again, we realize some of the routine questions, what's your best yielding CD, rather than you trying to navigate through the website, just ask that question. So we've been building the content. It's using a closed-end AI platform to generate those answers, because we don't want to say what's your best CD rate, and if it's open-ended, it'll go and pull my competitor's CD rate. So we're opening, we're creating Wally to be closed, so it just within the confines of our content, it will pull those answers. So it's a phrase that it's called channel stacking, meaning I still need to be able to do in person, and I need to do the website, I need to have the mobile, I even have a contact center, and I have a chat bot. So not one channel goes away as you introduce the others. Each are equally important, and at different times in your life, you might just need to talk to a human at the contact center. Sometimes going on the mobile app to put a stop payment on a check is fine, and sometimes you might not need to talk to anybody and just use Wally, our chatbot. So you need to stack all these channels for customers to be able to bank with in order to be successful.
Yep. You're talking a little bit about the future.
That's where I was going to go.
You were going to go, okay.
No, go ahead, do it.
So, what do you see? Here in the Hudson Valley. You don't have to focus specifically on Cornwall, but in the Hudson Valley, what do you see as the economic future? Where do you see us going? Is that
that's a great question.
That's a pretty broad question. Before we go there, when you think about the future of banking specifically, are there any big changes that you think you see kind of on the cusp?
It will continue to be the survival of the fittest that get everything we just talked about the last 30 minutes. In this market, as you said, Chase and Bank of America left. In our Washingtonville market, TD and Bank of America left. So, those are smarter minds than all of us from big billion-dollar banks that are saying this market's not attractive to us or what have you. So you have to have, a fine-tuned pencil in knowing how to navigate all this. So this might sound fun, and isn't banking fun? It's super challenging, and really making sure you're aligned with the right technology, your market positioning, your loyalty. You can never rest in your laurels. I say my customers are somebody else's best targets. So you have to do those things to create affinity and with your loyal customers, because they're being marketed online, at your mixers, there's so many, there's fintechs, money center banks. We even talked about credit unions, and I had a stint at one for about 8 years. So there are many in our market here too. So to do this right, you have to really have a playbook with the best and the brightest of talent, which I'm super fortunate. I've built an amazing team. Our board is amazing, but this isn't for the faint of heart, because like I said, there was 18,000 and now there's only 5,000. So, and again, all those changes I just said happened in the market in the last 2 years, and not that the bank's out of business, but they're saying there's something not in this market that I want to be a part of anymore, when the two in Cornwall even closed. So there's no rest for the weary. There's a lot to this. It's super challenging. I love every minute of it, but you need to align yourself with the best people, the best technology, and the community support, which to me, our 31,000 customers, they're so super loyal, but I know it can change on the dime. So I never take that for granted, the success we've had.
Yeah. So with the saying, when Derrik talks, people listen.
Oh, that's right. I hope
Scott was going to ask you about, how you see the future, like what do you think the economy or what kind of, right? Is that where you're headed?
Yes.
Specifically around the Hudson Valley, what do you see as the
super bullish and super positive about the economy? I think we are geographically positioned about an hour north of New York City. So certainly on our residential side, which we haven't touched, but during 20 and 21, so many people moved up here, second homes, and things like that. So that is, just this area, the tourism, the hospitality, the things to do, agritourism. You look at Angry Orchard in our market, Storm King Art Center. So where we are positioned, we have that access to the city, but we also have access to the country. So that's brought so many. We are a big lender in hospitality, big lender in agritourism. We have done a lot of multifamily apartments and dwelling units, because again, housing being so out of affordability range, the multifamily allows an investor to have this unit and then being able to rent it out. So I am super bullish on this area. I know there's little pockets that might have issues from time to time, but we've had, and we are 1 month away, again, just had the safety and soundness, we're having our most successful year financially ever as far as returns and such. And again, the one thing we didn't do, a lot of people dipped in and dipped out, banks, when COVID happened, it's like, oh, I'm not lending anymore. I'm worried the sky's falling. We sometimes had to borrow for that from the Federal Home Loan Bank. We sometimes had to pay up in a CD, so we got the deposits in, but we weren't, oh, Walden's in the market today, but not tomorrow. So we were slow and steady, and we were consistent through all of that. So that consistency, coupled with the economy bouncing back because of our unique geographic positioning, 60 miles north of New York City, has been part of the reason for, our success, especially in 2025. So.
Well, to wrap up here, you have any more questions, Silvio?
When you think about a venue like this, right? An opportunity to be in front of, countless people in our area. What are some of the things you would most want your client base or potential clients to know about Walden Savings?
I think it's largely been sprinkled throughout, but authenticity. So, I say about the bank 154 years, and I've been doing this 38 years, I hate to say, but the book's out there on me, the book's out there on Walden Savings Bank. You don't have to go too far. Google reviews, Yelp, right up to just talk to a customer that uses us. So that authenticity of who you get from individuals you work with to the bank and our core values, you can't make it up, you can't fake it. And so that's something 154-year track record allows us to have, and not to be boastful, because as I said, I always have something. We're having this most successful year, and somebody might be hearing this, it's like, wow, he's being braggadocious. I say to my team, and tomorrow I have an all-staff meeting, we can be happy for this moment, because tomorrow is a new day, and tomorrow is a new challenge, and God forbid there's another COVID. So you can never rest in your laurels because you don't know what's around the corner, but that authenticity of how we go about and approach business will be the same. Good economy, bad economy, I'll always be there for you. I'll pick up the phone, and again, I'm one of 145. I know my board of directors each have clients that call them, so it is just a mantra of authenticity that what you see is what you get when you bank with Walden Savings Bank.
Well, we very much appreciate getting you here today and coming out and speaking with us here at the Cornwall Chamber of Commerce. So thank you very much, Derrik.
I really appreciate this opportunity, and I look forward to working with you both and the Chamber in the years to come.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.